So yesterday, a customer canceled their RivalFlow free trial, and it happened at a unique time because we happened to all be doing this sort of all hands QA session of a major release. We don't do this very often, only when we have something that can really affect the overall experience of RivalFlow. And so we were all in the same kind of like Slack channel, and so the customer was cool enough to give support like a pretty thorough and well thought out kind of like feedback about why they were canceling, why the product didn't meet their needs. And so that came into our Slack right in the middle of this QA session, and so we loaded up the customer site. And so what we saw was, well, when you like look at this recommendation, what their site is about is it says how to make a secret door. And what we were recommending as a comparison was hidden door, high-end secret doors. Basically, this is like a commerce site, right? So one thing is like a guide about a how-to, and the other is here's the products. Well, that's going to be a really bad recommendation. And it turns out that that's exactly what we were QAing, because the major release that we were doing is a fundamental change in the way that we make recommendations, and overall it's wildly better, right? So the outcome that this person was talking about, actually their complaint wasn't to us about this recommendation not being good. Their complaint was actually inside the writing project. Well, the thing is that if you're comparing against an e-commerce page and you're a how-to article, all the recommendations, the gap analysis is going to be terrible, right? It's not going to make much sense. And so when we look in there, of course, that's what it is. So this was great because we're all in here, all ready to do this QA. And so I'll show you. Hold on. So here, let me go back to this original one. So behind here, here's the same thing. So this would be like before. Over here, this is before, and this is after. So now, with this new recommendation engine, we call it Action Stream 2.0. It's basically part of the whole RivalFlow 2.0 release. We're taking this recommendation, how to make a secret door, and then we're comparing it against a fundamentally way better recommendation, right? So let's have a look at what these things actually are. So just to bring us all up to speed, this is what the customer's page looks like, right? It's all about secret room ideas and where you can put them and what kind of hinges you can use and door latches and basically it's all about a how-to. And then here's what we were comparing it against, which is just a list of products that you can buy. This is the kind of cool things, actually. I mean, I kind of want to have some. But now the recommendation is all about the how-to. It literally tells you how to build the thing from scratch and step by step and the various different kinds. It's a perfect comparison to improve their content, right? So same thing, second result, right? Their second result is used to be comparing guide to ADA door requirements, and then this one here is like something about like it's like a hinge. Right? So we're showing them a hinge, and so this one here winds up being a guide versus a guide. It's a perfect like night and day difference, right? In terms of the recommendation, and ultimately the recommendations that you get in the writing project are going to be wildly better. This is like a really difficult problem to solve because what we were doing is we're looking at, the keyword that they're ranking on, right? And then we're looking through the SERP for like the top competitor or whatever. And then we find that and then we make that thing. But we weren't paying attention to the actual content or the intent, the micro intent of the content. And now we are. And it was a very difficult problem to solve. So, thanks. Shout out to Google for the vast amount of diversity in a given SERP. That's how it works. but I'm super glad to have been able to solve this customer's problem. Like, not quite before they had it. Obviously, they did wind up canceling. Maybe they'll give it another try. I did reach out to him and got his permission to use him as an example. And so hopefully he'll give it another shot. But in the grand scheme of things, what really matters is that we're creating value for everyone and solving this problem as perfectly as we possibly can. Now, I'm going to show you a whole bunch more examples, because this is the type of feature that you really will just feel, and it'll have like all of these downstream impacts, right? I kind of just showed you how a writing project, all of the recommendations are derivative of the quality of the original recommendation, right? Like, so if we can make a high quality recommendation from the get-go, everything about the product is going to wind up being better. But it's hard to do the apples to apples comparison. And so that's what I'm going to try to do now. Okay, so I wanted to sort of start with what we've already gone over, which is this sort of hidden door example, and just to show you, like, this is the before, this is the after, and then so this is obviously your title and their title. And so I want to show you like kind of the subtle but like important impact, right? So we've already kind of gone over this, but obviously this here is a product page. This is a guide, like a guide, like a how-to guide, and this is a product page. And so in the new version, we're showing you a how-to guide. So it's a perfect comparison, right? So let's have a look at some new stuff. Okay, so this is called Doctors of PT, and the question is, what is a deadlift? And the recommendation is deadlift versus Romanian deadlift, which is a comparison. And what we want to do is talk about how to and what is. And so this is actually a how to perform the Romanian deadlift, and here we are, how to perform it. There we go. Right. So let's look at the next one. All right. So this is back to that door example. So this was the, we have a guide versus another product. You can see it's a product page in here. And here in the new one, we have the ultimate guide. So it's a guide versus a guide. It's a perfect win there. Let's look next. Okay, so this is a legal case. So a legal situation called Liz Pendens, and so here we're looking at what is a notice of Liz Pendens in Arizona, and then here it's talking about Florida. So we're doing a better job in either at least, if we're not going to select something in the same location, we're at least going to find the one that isn't location specific optimally, right? So we've had a lot of this sort of issue with comparing dentists in sort of New Jersey to dentists in Missouri, and we don't want to be doing that. That's kind of an issue, right? So here we're talking about what is notice of Liz Pendens and what it is as it relates to real estate, and so it's a better fit. And as you can imagine, of course, every time we make this, even if it's a subtle impact, right, the output of these projects is going to wind up being like every question in there, every gap is going to be a better gap, because what we're talking about is more of an apples to apples, closer and closer to apples to apples. So here we're talking about how can undue influence be legally proven, and this one is proving undue influence in will and trust contests. The difference here was this is, what's the difference between undue influence and duress, right? So totally, like, not totally different subjects, subtly different, subtly better, but meaningful, right? If you were a human and you were looking into it, you'd definitely choose this one instead of this one. And that's tricky for me to show you without doing this side-by-side comparison, right? All right, let's look at some more. And so here we've got We're talking about blowout and winterization sprinkler services. Here we've got top 10 sprinkler winterization services. So this is a bit better. It's winterization and blowout. So it's going to be it's a single comparison as opposed to a list. So this one's a better one again. And by the way, I'm not really cherry picking these. Obviously, I'm finding examples that have something I want to show you. But broadly speaking, this is what everything looks like. All right, let's look at another one. Okay, so this is going to get a little bit meta because I'm looking at RivalFlow and we're looking at our actual blog. But just, don't pay attention to that fact. These are just subjects. So is SEO dead in 2024 versus SEO dead in 2023? Well, guess what? SEO in 2024, and it also says no, but the playbook must change. No, but here's what's changing. So it's a pretty darn good, comparison. Now, this one wasn't bad, but it's fundamentally about 2023 and not about 2024. Pretty big deal, right? Okay, so here we're looking at a content strategy versus marketing strategy, right? And here we had a pretty good one, how to develop a content strategy. It's about content strategy, but it's not a versus, right? So the line between marketing strategy and content strategy is what makes this one better. Also ranked number 1. We're not like losing that. We got all the things going for us. All right, let's look at the next one. Oh, this is a really important one. I mean, this is a pretty the best SEO content optimization tools. And then what this one is pretty much like a tool, content optimization checker. Like that's not going to be a good comparison at all. That's going to be a fundamental fail. It's an embarrassing fail actually to me. And now here we are pretty much nailing it exactly as we should be. I'd prefer if this had like a title of 2024, but this one doesn't, so it's like, it's about the same content. It's just, All right, let's look at another one. And so here we are, we've got how to use Google Trends. And then this one is the title, what this is about is what is Google Trends? So here we go. How to use Google Trends. How to use Google Trends. Perfect. Beautiful match. Exactly what we want. How do search engines work versus the 11 best search engines to use other than Google? It's like it wants to be what it wants to be, but it's not right. And this, how do search engines work? And then the Google search queries, a guide to Google and search. It's way better, right? Much better recommendation. Now, of course, you can always, as you know, hold on one second. You can always go in and modify these things. I want to make sure that I show you that real quick. All of that enhanced, improved recommendations, that's also in this pick a page area. And so you can go over here and you can type in the page that you want to start with, or you can, this is actually the list of your top pages ordered by the number of clicks that they get, number of organic clicks that they get from Google. So I'll just go in here and I'll grab like that how do search engines work page, and we'll let it run through, and lo and behold, there we go. Solid recommendation. It's not that bad recommendation from before. It's how do search engines work. It's perfect, and it's ranked number 1. It's the glorious ones. Now, if you decided that you wanted to not use our recommendation, you can still do that. You go in here, you can change to any of these. So you could choose. You probably wouldn't want to choose this Google one, but you could use the Seer Interactive one. It's probably pretty solid. You could use the Ahrefs one. That would work. There's a few good options in here, actually. But obviously, we chose the number 1 result, and that matches the intent perfectly. So All that stuff that's in the new action stream is going to show up here in the pick a page. That's actually been out. The pick a page stuff's been out for a couple weeks. We soft launched it so that we could test it internally, against the action stream. So like this is a pretty major, improvement that'll have downstream impacts on everything that you do with RivalFlow. Right on down to the questions, the gap analysis, and the content generation, and also the placement. It's one of those things that you'll feel, but if I didn't point out what happened, you might not know. You'd just be like, oh, the product's better. Maybe it has to do with AI. It has something to do with AI, but it has a lot to do with a lot of hard work, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with us and my team's hard work. So I wanted to call attention to it, and have fun.